Don't you wish to sample the coffee I brewed specifically for you, sweetheart? Inquired my spouse, Daniel, with an unusual grin that failed to reach his eyes. I was seated at my sister-in-law Anna's sophisticated dining table in her New York residence, where we convened for our monthly family brunch. The cup of coffee before me emitted an odd, almost metallic aroma that churned my stomach. Welcome to the Soulful Stories channel. Subscribe today and stay updated. Never miss a single story. My name is Emma, and at 29, I never thought I'd be pondering whether my own husband was attempting to poison me. But after 3 years of matrimony and numerous incidents of accidental food poisoning, I had learned to tread carefully, especially around Anna. She excelled at engineering situations that left me ill or humiliated, always with that same innocent smile Daniel now wore. "How considerate of you," I responded, forcing a grin while my mind raced. The scent rising from the cup was unlike any coffee I'd encountered before. It evoked memories of last month when I landed in urgent care after drinking tea at Anna's house. The doctors were baffled by my symptoms, and Anna insisted she had prepared the tea exactly as she made her own. From across the table, Anna observed me closely, absent-mindedly stirring her own untouched coffee. "Daniel has become quite the coffee artisan lately," she remarked with a smirk. "He's been experimenting with different brewing techniques just for you." The way she stressed "for you" sent a chill down my spine. I had noticed Daniel spending more time at Anna's house lately, claiming they were organizing a surprise for our upcoming anniversary. But something felt amiss. The hushed conversations that ceased when I entered the room, the cryptic texts I glimpsed on his phone, and now this coffee with its peculiar scent. I raised the cup, feigning a sip while scrutinizing their expressions. Daniel and Anna exchanged a fleeting glance that validated my suspicions. Pretending to check my phone, I abruptly stood. "Oh, would you look at that? I need to make a quick work call. Anna, may I use your study?" As I passed Anna's place setting, I intentionally stumbled, swiftly swapping our coffee cups in the commotion of studying myself. "I'm terribly sorry," I exclaimed, straightening up. "I'm such a klutz sometimes." Anna dismissed my apology with a tight smile. "Just try not to break anything in the study." I nodded and hurried away, my heart pounding. From the study's doorway, I kept an eye on them. Now, I only needed to wait and observe. I watched as Anna raised the cup to her lips, my stomach knotting with anxiety. A part of me yearned to intervene, to warn her, but I needed the truth. I had endured too many nights in emergency rooms and countless hours doubled over in agony, always after dining with them. It hadn't always been this way. When I first encountered Daniel at a friend's wedding in New York 3 years ago, he was charming and attentive. Anna seemed welcoming too, inviting me to family gatherings and assisting with wedding plans. Yet, in retrospect, I should have noticed the warning signs. The accidental spills on my dress at significant events, or how my food always seemed to have extra seasoning when she cooked. The incidents began subtly, a stomach ache here, a mild allergic reaction there. Daniel always had an excuse. Perhaps it was something you ate earlier, or you must be falling ill. But the pattern became undeniable. The worst episode occurred 2 months ago, when I was hospitalized after breakfast at their home. The doctors detected traces of an unidentified substance in my system, but Daniel convinced everyone I must have taken expired medication. Gripping the doorframe, I observed Anna take another sip of the coffee. Daniel was engrossed in his phone, seemingly unconcerned. My untouched cup rested on the table, the metallic scent lingering in my nostrils. A slight tremor in Anna's hand caught my attention. She set the cup down, her face turning pale. "Daniel," she stammered. "Something's wrong." Daniel glanced up, his expression shifting from confusion to horror as he realized she had the wrong cup. He leaped up, toppling his chair. "Anna, what's happening?" Anna's hands quivered violently. I feel." She attempted to stand but stumbled, clutching the table for support. "Daniel, what did you put in that coffee?" I stepped out of the study, My phone recording. Daniel knelt beside Anna, panic etched on his face. That wasn't meant for you, he murmured. But in the dining room silence, his words were crystal clear. Anna's eyes widened with fear. Call an ambulance, she gasped, collapsing to the floor. Please, I can't. I dialed 911, my hand steady despite the chaos. Emergency services? Yes, we need an ambulance at 1542, Maple Grove Drive, I said clearly. My sister-in-law appears to be experiencing a severe reaction to something in her coffee. She's conscious but trembling. As I spoke, Anna's eyes locked onto mine. The usual cold calculation in her gaze was replaced by raw terror. Emma, she croaked. You switched, you knew? The dispatcher assured me help was on the way. Daniel grew more frantic. Anna, what's happening? It wasn't meant for. Shut up, Daniel. Anna snapped through gritted teeth. You said it would just make her sick enough to miss the board meeting. You promised it couldn't be traced. My blood ran cold. The board meeting where I was set to present a proposal for a major client. The same account Anna had been vying for. The tea last month, I said, my voice steady. And the breakfast 2 months ago. Those weren't accidents, were they? Anna writhed in pain. The tea was supposed to keep you from presenting the Johnson contract, but you went anyway. She groaned. Daniel said we just needed to ruin your reputation, make clients think you were unreliable. Sirens blared outside. Daniel backed away, panic-stricken. Anna, stop talking. You don't know what you're saying. I know exactly what I'm saying, she spat. We've been plotting this for months. You were supposed to ensure she drank it today. Paramedics burst through the door. As they attended to Anna, I sent the recording to my lawyer. Daniel stood, frozen, watching his plan crumble. I'll accompany her to the hospital. I told the paramedics. I must ensure my sister-in-law receives proper care. I met Daniel's terrified gaze. And the doctors will be very interested in what's in that coffee. At New York General, I replayed the recording of Anna's confession. A nurse called for Anna's family. I'm her sister-in-law, I said. How is she? Stable, but we found concerning toxins in her system. The nurse said gravely. The doctor needs to discuss her blood work with you. Dr. Phillips, a tall woman with graying hair and sharp eyes, stood by Anna's chamber. Mrs. Roberts, could you elaborate on what transpired before your sister-in-law fell ill? I inhaled deeply and presented my phone. I believe you should hear this first. I played the recording from brunch, observing the doctor's expression morph from professional concern to alarm. This is grave, she remarked, noting details on her tablet. The compound we detected isn't something that inadvertently ends up in coffee. This is intentional contamination. At that moment, Daniel materialized at the corridor's end, his complexion pallid and sweaty. He had clearly overheard the doctor's words. Emma, he began, stepping toward me. Allow me to clarify. Stay put, Dr. Phillips instructed, pressing the nurse's call button. Security to room 412, please. Daniel raised his hands in submission. This is a misunderstanding. Anna was disoriented. She misspoke. Indeed, I pulled up the texts I had discovered on his phone last week and forwarded to myself. Were these messages between you and Anna about incapacitating me before the Henderson presentation mere banter? His face turned ashen. You invaded my phone. After discovering the bizarre substance in your desk drawer? Yes, I did. I turned to Dr. Phillips. Doctor, I've been hospitalized thrice in the past 6 months with inexplicable symptoms. Could you verify if they correspond with what you found in Anna's system today? The doctor's gaze narrowed. We'll conduct tests for comparison. Security will ensure your husband remains available for questioning. 2 security guards arrived, flanking Daniel. He looked cornered, his carefully crafted facade crumbling. Anna and I, he stammered, merely sought to help you slow down. You were overworking, monopolizing major clients. Anna suggested inducing a brief illness. By poisoning me? My voice remained steady despite my trembling hands. How long has this persisted? Was it you who tampered with my food at the Christmas gathering as well? Daniel's silence spoke volumes. Beyond him, Anna's room was visible, where she lay tethered to monitors, her earlier bravado replaced by dread. Detective Martinez is en route, Dr. Phillips quietly informed me. She'll require statements from all involved. I nodded, experiencing an odd tranquility. The truth was surfacing, and there was no retreating. Detective Martinez arrived within the hour, her commanding presence filling the sterile corridor. She specialized in domestic abuse cases and listened intently as I replayed the recording and presented the text messages. "Mrs. Roberts," she said, scrutinizing her notes. "You mentioned prior hospitalizations. Could you elaborate?" I unveiled my phone again, revealing a document I'd meticulously maintained for months. The first incident occurred in February after dining at Anna's home. Intense stomach pain and dizziness. The second, in April, the tea incident. Then in June, post-breakfast with them. My voice remained composed. Each episode mirrored the others, with subtle differences that baffled doctors. The detective's eyes narrowed as she perused my detailed log of dates, symptoms, and scenarios. "You've documented this, since identifying the pattern." I hesitated before retrieving another phone from my purse. I also carried a backup phone with a different number. I used it to discreetly record conversations. I possessed several recordings where Anna and Daniel discuss. Their schemes, though veiled, were discernible in Anna's voice. "The Henderson account is worth millions, Daniel. We can't allow her to ruin our work. Just adhere to the plan. A brief illness will suffice." Daniel's reply was equally incriminating. "I've procured something more potent this time. She won't attend the presentation." Detective Martinez's expression hardened. Through the window of Anna's room, I observed my sister-in-law, her earlier confidence replaced by apprehension. "The hospital is conducting toxicology screens," the detective stated. "Dr. Phillips identified several unnatural substances. We'll need samples from your residence." A commotion ensued in the hallway. Daniel was quarreling with the security guards, his desperation mounting. "I must speak with my wife," he bellowed. "Emma, you misconstrue. We aim to protect you." Detective Martinez intervened. "Mr. Roberts, you're exacerbating your situation. We possess evidence of premeditation." "Premeditated?" Daniel chuckled hollowly. "We aim to decelerate her. She was overexerting, seizing key clients. Anna suggested inducing a brief illness. By poisoning her," the detective's tone was sharp. "That's attempted murder." Daniel's face drained of color. "Murder? No, we never intended." "Then what exactly was the intention?" I inquired, my voice remarkably composed. "When you tampered with my coffee this morning, what outcome did you foresee?" Daniel's silence was damning. Behind him, Anna observed from her hospital bed, her visage a mixture of fear and calculation, likely strategizing how to justify months of systematic poisoning. "We'll need both their phones." Detective Martinez instructed the guards. "Post officers at both doors. No one departs until the toxicology results are available." Dr. Phillips entered Anna's room with a grim expression, her tablet in hand. Detective Martinez and I followed, while Daniel lingered outside with the guards. Anna endeavored to sit upright, but the tremors persisted. "The toxicology report reveals elevated levels of several substances," Dr. Phillips announced. "The most alarming is a compound typically used in pharmaceutical testing, inaccessible to the public." Anna's face turned ghostly. "Impossible." Daniel said it would induce mild symptoms. "Mild symptoms?" Detective Martinez interjected, her notebook poised. "Like those your sister-in-law endured over the past 6 months." An officer entered with an evidence bag. "Discovered these in Mr. Roberts' office desk at the marketing firm," he reported, presenting label bottles and dosage notes. My knees weakened as the full scope of their scheme dawned on me. You documented everything, like an experiment. It wasn't that. Anna protested feebly. We needed to monitor effectiveness. The initial attempts failed. You persisted. So you escalated the dosages, the detective deduced. Were you aware these substances could be lethal in higher concentrations? The room fell silent. Daniel, visible through the window, slumped into a chair, head in hands. The Henderson account, I murmured, pieces aligning. You sought my permanent removal because the client requested me as lead. Anna's expression contorted with rage and fear. You usurped everything. I cultivated that portfolio for years, and then you emerged, garnering all the attention. Daniel vowed to rectify it. By ending my life. The concentration in today's coffee, Dr. Phillips stated, was significantly higher than previous samples. If consumed, the consequences would have been dire. Secure warrants for their homes and offices, the detective ordered. Contact the pharmaceutical company on these labels. Determine acquisition details. Anna slumped in defeat. Daniel's rights were being read outside as additional officers arrived. Detective, I said, turning from my sister-in-law. I'm ready to provide my formal statement. The trial spanned 3 weeks but felt like an eternity. I attended daily, observing the prosecution dismantle Daniel and Anna's defense. The evidence was irrefutable. Anna appeared diminished. Daniel couldn't meet my gaze. Justice prevailed, but the scars lingered. Dr. Phillips' testimony was particularly damning. She presented a comprehensive analysis showing how they had gradually increased the dosages over time, demonstrating clear intent to cause serious harm. The pharmaceutical company representative confirmed that Daniel had stolen the compounds through his college friend who worked in their research department. The defendants showed a calculated pattern of behavior. The prosecutor argued in her closing statement, this wasn't just corporate sabotage. It was a systematic attempt to harm Mrs. Roberts, with a clear escalation that could have resulted in death. When the verdict was finally read, I felt no joy, only relief. Both Daniel and Anna were found guilty on multiple counts, including attempted murder and conspiracy. The judge's words echoed through the silent courtroom. The premeditated nature of these actions, carried out against a family member over an extended period, demands the maximum sentence. I watched as they were led away in handcuffs, thinking about how greed and jealousy had twisted two people I once trusted into something unrecognizable. Their business, their reputations, their freedom, all sacrificed in an attempt to destroy me. 1 year after the trial, I stood at the podium of the New York Business Leaders Conference, preparing to give the keynote speech. The irony wasn't lost on me. This was exactly the kind of opportunity Anna had tried to prevent me from achieving. The Henderson account, which she and Daniel had been so desperate to steal, had led to several more major clients, establishing me as one of the top marketing executives in the region. Success isn't just about talent or hard work, I began, looking out at the sea of faces. It's about integrity, about building genuine relationships based on trust. I paused, letting my words sink in. Sometimes, the biggest threats to our success come from those closest to us, but surviving those challenges makes us stronger. After my speech, several young professionals approached me, seeking advice. One woman, her eyes bright with determination, asked how I'd maintain my composure throughout the ordeal. I focused on what I could control. I told her. I gathered evidence, trusted my instincts, and refused to let fear stop me from pursuing my goals. Later that evening, I received an email from the Henderson client, confirming they were renewing their contract for another 3 years. I smiled, thinking about how differently things might have turned out if I hadn't trusted my instincts that day at brunch. The local paper had run a small article that morning about Anna and Daniel beginning their prison sentences. I didn't read it. Instead, I focused on the proposal for my newest client project, knowing that the best revenge wasn't about getting even. It was about moving forward and succeeding despite those who try to hold you back. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like this video and subscribe. This is Soulful Stories, where love and justice always prevail. See you next time.